I'm so blessed over the years being a Ferry, the youngest of the Ferry group, my dad and my two brothers, and being around some of the best sales trainers in the history of the real estate industry. I am friends with some of the best, highest performing salespeople that have ever, been in the United States. I've studied every one of the top sales techniques and strategies and the NLPs and this, that, in all of the industries, all of the authors. And so today I just want to distill down some of what I would see are my favorite principles for advanced sales strategies, marketing tactics, influence, persuasion. So I wrote down 12 that I want to give you guys today. And so let's just kind of go through a couple of these, and hopefully one or two of them you can adopt immediately in maybe your next marketing campaign, your next listing presentation, the next conversation that you have to help you to really be able to earn more trust, win the business, get hired, compete against, the highest performer in your marketplace to win the business. So let's get after it. And again, these are not basics, okay? This is not about learning scripts. I'm going to give you some of the absolute most advanced strategies. Hopefully, these are things that you already know. So let's dive into number one. The first thing that I learned that was so impactful was understanding the customer's journey and really thinking through the customer's journey. This helped me tremendously when I was working with expired listings in the downturn and really talking my clients and agents through what the customer experienced and where they were at in that journey, and then how we started the conversation there. This has helped out tremendously with helping a lot of my clients really convert at a high level with the online buyer lead. When we identified where the buyer was at in the journey, right, then we can now meet them there, serve them, communicate powerfully with them. Very powerful principle. Principle number 2 is learn the quality and the characteristics of the perfect customer. Back, I think it was maybe 2006, there was a great book that was going around the real estate industry, and it was called Attracting the Perfect Customer. And what that did is it forced all of us to think through, well, what is the perfect customer? What are the qualities and characteristics of the person that I want to work with? I recently was listening to Russell Brunson's great book on expert secrets, and he's like, you must define who your perfect customer is that you would want to serve, that you would love to serve, that you get joy out of serving. So I think this, defining the qualities and characteristics of the perfect customer is a powerful exercise. Let's go number 3. It's been a hot topic for me, so if you've been paying attention to some of my videos lately, you've heard this before. So in this context, optimize every script for the perfect customer first. Optimize the script for the perfect customer first. So, I've been working with a lot of agents on their Zillow conversion, helping them go from, 3% to 7% to 10% to get over 10% in conversions. And what's happened is so many of the Zillow agents are taking that first call, the connection call, and they're optimizing their script and process for the jerk, not for the person that would love for them to share and talk about that house, what's going on with the neighborhood, what's going on with the market, would love to, have a buyer consultation either via Zoom or face-to-face, would love to meet in advance and discuss all things about how to win in today's market. We're optimizing for the jerk who's busy and who doesn't want to talk to a realtor. Doesn't make any sense. So first, optimize your scripting for the perfect customer, and then master the art of objection handling to increase conversion rate. So that's the game, my friends. That's number 3. Let's go to number 4. This one is so fun. Find problems to introduce them to that they didn't know that they had. find problems that you can introduce them to that they didn't know that they had. This is great for buyers today in the market. This is great. I crushed it with this personally here in San Diego with For Sale by Owners when I would start talking to them about negotiating termite and what that looks like in California and how much money is lost and won and what are some of the different ways to negotiate and how money is lost and how you can get terms up front and lose out on the back end and all kinds of fun stuff. And so my realtor friends, you got to understand that there's a lot of little nuanced problems that you solve with your customer that you could turn into a strategy to introduce people to problems. And when you introduce them, they didn't know that they had it. Then they're like, whoa, it's useful to have you on my team. You must be clearly an expert. It's really powerful. It's super fun. Number 5. This one compliments to Mr. J. Abraham, one of the single most powerful and influential business coaches in the world today. He would, of course, say that about himself, right? To the tune that, my great brother Tom Ferry hired him as his business coach for a year, and it cost $30,000 a month to have J. Abraham coach him. Okay, that's a lot. So Jay says, and I've quoted this many times, he says, if you can define the problems that your customers have better than they even understand it, then they will give you trust and respect. This, my friends, is a phenomenal strategy to increase conversion, increase influence, and to cause people to respect you and your knowledge more. So absolutely work on that, number 5. Let's go to number 6. Number 6 is obsess on how to increase the perceived value of the service you offer. Obsess on how to increase the perceived value of the service that you offer. Now, this is something that I have done and that I do when I work with agents on their listing presentation, and when I think about the seller, what you say, what you offer, what they want, what's important to them in the context of the market and the competition. It's like, okay, well, how do I explain what we do? The mega open house was like a perfect example of that now that I've thought about it. So, Tom taught, and we trained all the coaching clients on the mega open house. And it's like everybody does the regular open house. So how do we do the premier open house, the mega open house? What we did is we increased the perceived value, and we developed a presentation that made the mega open house, the premier open house, seem more grand, more valuable, so that what we did, if another agent didn't do that, then what we did was better. So you want to look at every step in the buyer's journey from conversation 1 all the way through to congratulations, and figure out how to increase the perceived value of what you do at every step, right? A seller, the first time that you talk to a seller, to the time that you meet with them on an appointment, to what you do on the appointment, what you do after the appointment. How do you increase the perceived value of what you do all the way through? Very powerful step. Really, really impressive. Number 7, obsess over every word of every question you ask, every step of the process. Okay? And study the responses that you get to the changes. See, my great father, who is the godfather of real estate training right now, he beat into our heads. Ask more questions, ask better questions. Ask more questions, ask better questions. And so, a core group of some of the most successful real estate agents, most successful coaches in the industry, we just obsessed. Like, we would look at every word, then we'd go test. We'd go, okay, well, I changed the question just this way. Now let's go test that out on, 10 sellers or 10 buyers, and let's see, did that increase the amount of response that I got from the buyers and sellers? Did I get more of the real answer? Did I get the real motivation? Did they open up and explain more valuable information that I needed as the salesperson, as the consultant, as the consultant there to help them, to help solve their problems? Did my shift in the question open the conversation up, make it easier for me? Did I have to ask less questions? And was I able to get more information from them so that I can serve them better? The obsession over questions is a major advanced skill. Number 8, advanced technique. You guys heard this before, but it's worth reiterating. Learn to be and to sound way more interested. Learn to be physically. I'm interested in what you have to say. I really want to know, right? These things, being interested, being a listener, right? And then to sound more interested. Critical skills, blows past everything. Okay? Number 9. This one, you guys have heard me talk about this before when we talked about how to get more listings and talking about how to define the problem of the market today with low inventory. But I've been talking about learning how to tell way more stories that teach people the most important points that you want to deliver. Telling more stories. We all need to tell more stories. Okay, this is one of the most powerful influence, persuasion, education techniques that exist. Again, shout out to my new favorite, author right now, Mr. Russell Brunson. If you read his book, Expert Secrets, which I highly recommend everyone to read the book, he literally starts every chapter with a story. And you learn all the principles inside the story. Okay, I love one of the most phenomenal books in the last decade on influence, persuasion, and negotiation, Mr. Chris Voss. If you read the Chris Voss book, How to Negotiate Like Your Life Depended on It, he always starts the chapter with a story. The lessons are all baked into the stories. This, my friends, is an advanced persuasion and sales skill technique. We all need to learn how to tell better stories about our clients' experiences, about the failures of the wrong decisions that people make. So I don't have to tell you, don't do this. I can tell you a story about a buyer that I worked with who made this decision and that decision beyond what I was recommending. And then what happened was this, that, and the other, and it fell apart and it was a disaster. The story. Versus, hey, don't do that. That's not a good idea. Okay, you see the difference? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I worked with a great client. It was Bob and Susie, and they were over at, and here's what happened. We got this, and then they did, and we did, and I did, and I did, and we did, and that what happened, and and they were the hero. Guys, tell better stories. Practice this skill. Okay, number 10. Let's go. This one is one of my favorites, and I used to spend a lot of time on this. Understand the difference between approval, recognition, and acknowledgement in the important parts of a conversation. Okay, so when we're talking to a buyer, there's a big difference between giving the buyer approval for what they said versus giving them recognition for what they said. Okay, so approval are simple things like, hey, good for you, that's great, awesome, that's exciting, that's approval. Recognition is more sincere, like, hey, congratulations, that's amazing. Okay, so a simple example of this on the buy side, and we'll shift over to the sell side. If you had today a buyer who was moving to a new city because they got a job transfer, and let's say you were talking to the buyer and they're like, yeah, I just got job transferred over to, coming into your marketplace. And you said, that's great. What company are you working for? And you asked more questions, and you asked a better question. You said, so, is this a great step up for your career? Tell me a little bit about that. Oh yeah, I got a huge job promotion. I'm making significantly more money. We're cashing out of California, which everybody is, taking a huge amount of money that we've gained there, and we're able to move over there and really live very comfortably. Okay. Is this a moment for approval, or is this a moment for giving sincere recognition around, wow, congratulations, that is amazing. I hope that you must be proud of yourself. Like, this is a moment for sincerity in recognition. It's not approval. Good for you. That's great. Wonderful. How soon did you want to buy a house? No, guys. Okay. Now, flip over to the sell side. So I mastered this difference between approval, recognition, and acknowledgement when I was working in the prospecting school, listening to, in the downturn, some of the worst stories of sellers who were losing money, who were listed for 6 months, and in a 6-month window they lost maybe like $20, $30, $40, $50,000 already. And so we had to have influence over that homeowner to be able to tell us the story, to share their true, real motivation. Were they really motivated to do this or not? What was the experience with the last agent? Did the last agent tell them what they really needed to do? Did they fight them on it? What's their perception and understanding of the housing market and the economy? And we had to ask really in-depth questions with a lot of money and a lot of stress and a difficult scenario on the line. And so the intensity at which we were either to give approval, recognition, and number 3 was to give acknowledgement. And to acknowledge, listen, I understand how you feel. That must have been terrible. I have a lot of compassion for the position that you're in. And so there was a lot of acknowledgement skill that we had to work on during that really, really challenging time. So, because you and I, as real estate professionals, we work with the general public, and there's all kinds of positive scenarios, neutral scenarios, and bad scenarios. We really need to get better at those 3 things. Number 11, last 2. All right, stick with me. Learn how to ask care frontational questions. Care frontational questions. So we all deal with this. We get the buyer, we get the seller that they think that they know what the right thing is to do. And you clearly have the actual better advice. You clearly know what is in their best interest. But if you just tell them the right thing, they won't listen. So there's a skill in care frontational questions that I believe must be mastered if you really want to help a lot of people and have more positive influence on the tougher personality type. Okay, really important. Last one, number 12. Thanks for sticking with me. Listen, if you want my notes for this as well, I've got them all written out and I put a little PDF together. If you want my notes and you've stuck with me this long, hey, just send me a quick email to patrick@coachpferry. I'll put it down in the description. You can just send me a quick email and in the subject line, just write down advanced techniques. Advanced techniques. I'll create a little automated email and I'll just send you over my document if you want to look at this and explore further into this. So let's get into number 12 here. Number 12 is develop frameworks or steps, for you to follow, right? So for you and I to follow. This is my framework. This is my steps. Every listing call I get, I have a series of steps of best practices for every potential seller. I've got a series of steps of best practices that I follow on every listing appointment. I've got a series of steps I follow for every new Zillow connection call that I get, right? Steps or frameworks. Again, big shout out to Russell Brunson in his Expert Secrets. He talks a lot about developing your frameworks, and he talks about his hook, story, offer framework, which I have been using with all my coaching clients right now on social media posts, direct mail, emails, using the hook, story, offer framework, right? So there's 2 things. There's these frameworks, these steps, these processes make it easier for you to be able to present, to be able to perform. And they're really powerful when you can say to a seller, hey, I have a 5-step process that I take all potential sellers through. on how to prepare themselves and their home before they ever hit the market. I've got a 5-step process that I take people through. Would you like to get together and have me walk you through the 5 steps that I do with every one of the potential sellers before their home ever gets onto the market? What's the answer? The answer is yes. See, when you develop your own steps, your own frameworks, your own process that you can present to the public, it's incredibly powerful, but it also keeps us on track, right? So I developed a framework of how to master any lead source, right? So it was like, look, if you take on Zillow leads, expireds, FSBOs, you're to take on, door knocking, a geographic farm. It doesn't matter. Even if you were in another industry, if you're pharmaceutical sales, if you were in, recruiting, it doesn't matter. Every lead source, I developed a framework. It was like, get your mindset right, develop the skills, understand the numbers, blah, understand the time, blah, blah, blah. And I could take that framework and I can go to any industry and I can just break it down and go, let's get to work on this. See, the framework, right? I develop 5 phases of selling a home. And I wrote out this whole thing that I was using for FSBOs and expireds. It's like, here's the 5 phases and here's how we make mistakes and here's how you make money. And so I kind of did this 5 phases of phase 1 was 6 months before you put your home on the market. Phase 2 was 30 days before you put your home on the market. And it was, here's the things that you do to sell your home for more money, and here's the mistakes that the average agent makes, all these mistakes that cost you money. Then it was the first 30 days on the market. Here's how you maximize your sales price and get more money. Here's how you lose money. Then it was, phase 4 was in negotiation. Here's how you keep more money. Here's how you lose money. And then there was phase 5 was the under contract process. Here's how you lose money. Here's how you gain money. So I created the 5 phases to selling a home, and I put a bunch of cool strategies and ideas in there. I can present that now to a seller. Now, what's the seller's perception of me when I say, yeah, I've got a document where I went through the 5 phases of selling a home, and I share all of the best practices and how to keep more money, make more money, and how not to lose money, how to reduce stress, and how to put you in a stronger position to control the timelines so that you have a better experience overall. I developed that already. Now, do I look like more of an expert than the average person who's like, oh, you think of selling your home? That's great. Why did I come over? Well, what should we do first? Well, we'll just talk about, the value of your home, and let me look at the house, and, and we'll just, we'll go from there, right? To the difference, here's the 5 phases, here's the 5 things that I do prior to putting a home on the market. I take people through a very specific process to determine what's the best game plan for them and their family to be able to maximize the opportunity but reduce stress and to customize the experience just for them. I've got the 5-step process that I take everybody through, right? See the difference? So frameworks, steps, advanced stuff. So again, if I can help you guys out with anything, I did get one opening for my coaching schedule that I would like to fill with someone. So if you or anyone that any of the agents out there would be a good fit for me and my crazy wild, thought process, please let me know. Give me a shout out. You can find all the details down in my description box. And as always, if there's anything I can do to help out or help you, please let me know. Please put a comment down below. 1 out of the 12 is probably a good idea for you. Which one of those 12 do you need to step your game up? A thumbs up would be awesome. A subscribe would be amazing. So have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you guys on the next round.